Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the fourth session of the AI in what's it called now? Come on, anything session. I hope it has been an amazing classes so far from the very first up to last week where we built our first workflow. Um, I don't know if you have any question. Please remember you can engage the chat. Just drop your question and we'll be attending to them accordingly. I just want to share my screen. All right. I hope you can all see my screen. Pull it down. Okay, welcome back to another session, our first session in class. Last week we built our first workflow. We just tried to imagine a typical workflow, and then we try to see how we can implement that using NHN. It was successful, very interactive, and I believe also very educational. And I also hope that every one of us had gone ahead to do one or two with whatever you have learned. And without further ado, let's get right into today's lesson. Like I always said, I'll make it very speedy. It's a rich concept, but I'll try to break it down into a bite-sized content that we can easily digest. So far, at nodes, we've looked at automation, workflows, also looked at variables, functions, and their types, and how we can use them. Of course, we implement that last week while building our first workflow. And I believe that we've gotten some level of understanding of this concept and we can apply it on our own. So this time we'll be moving a little bit further, a step further, taking everything a step further. Mind you, we are not losing the basics of what we've learned so far. We're just building up like a sandwich, like a huge sandwich. We're trying to build up the work we have learned. All right. So today we'll be considering AI agents. AI agents. Now, I just take today to explain the entire concept. Then, if time permits, maybe we could check our init and environment and see a little thing we can do. And by next week, we'll take it a little bit further. So the first question that would come to mind is what is an agent? Now, we've talked about workflow and we built our first workflow last week. And you will observe that a typical workflow is linear in nature. It follows a parallel pattern from one step to the next, from that step to another step, and to another step like that. So a typical workflow goes parallel without skipping step. For an AI agent, is somewhat different from that, in that an AI agent has this capacity to decide, to think, and then take action based on that line of thought. In other words, an AI agent is a reasoning engine that can autonomously plan tasks and execute those tasks to reach a specific goal. So for an AI agent, there is a goal that is to be achieved, there is a thought process, and there are steps to achieving that goal. So this is what makes the workflow different from an AI agent. So a standard automation or a standard workflow follows a rigid pattern. But an AI agent has the ability to decide based on the tools that are made available for it. For instance, um, like a chatbot or a virtual assistant or an automated support system. If you visit portals like Remita, you will see they have a chatbot there that you can interact with. Probably let's say there is an error on your payment process. Maybe you pay certain amount and it was successful. Maybe somehow you lost your remitter number or you want to retrieve the payment receipt. Now that chatbot has ability to recover those data for you. And you will see if you had interacted with that chatbot, it will be asking you certain questions relating to the payment. This is what makes an AI agent different from a typical workflow. It has the ability to decide and to utilize the various tools at its disposal to make decisions and achieving the goal. So there are four components of an AI agent. I will only be focusing on three of them. The third one is way more advanced than this class. Um, if you want to know more, I would suggest maybe if you can apply to our intermediate advanced classes. I believe that the information about that will be communicated as the class uh, still continues. There are four components, as I said, of an AI agent. And this is what makes it function effectively. That capacity of an artificial human intelligence modeling. All right. So the first part of an AI agent is the brain. Every AI agent has a brain. There's also a memory part of it. Of course, memory does what memory does, to keep track of discussion, of, of to keep track of whatever the chat has been doing, the agent has been doing. Okay, just like if you had used, I believe every one of us must have engaged one of these chat models, either maybe like uh, ChatGPT, Gemini, Cloud, all those chat models. You will discover that they have the ability to respond based on the previous question that we've asked. So what makes that possible is that aspect of that model called the memory. It keeps track of those chats. Another thing that forms a component part of a typical AI agent is the tools. Now, this one is very powerful, but we'll see how we can bring these three together. And mind you, we might not be working on, depending on the time, we might not be working on our workspace today, but I would just want you to get the explanation against the next class when we are building, so you will not lose out of any concept. Okay. Now this is how an agent looks like. The agent AI agent node looks like in anything. Now you see this part. Let me pick my pen right here. Yeah, this part here is your chat model. This is where you introduce any of the chat model, maybe like ChatGPT, like Gemini AI, and so on. And also it will require a memory and tools. Now for the sake of uh, proper understanding, I will try to explain each and every of these uh, components so that we'll get all right. Now the memory, okay, let's start from the brain. Let's start from the brain. Now I said the brain is the most intelligent part of the agent. It allows the agent to handle reasoning, thinking, understanding, and then decision making. And I say you can, in place of the chat model, you can use those language modelings that we have, ChatGPT, Clouds, Gemini, and all that. So they are helpful to make your agent smart. Now, this is the part that is responsible for thinking, for understanding, and for decision making. So the role of the chat model or the brain, so to speak, now is to analyze the user request and decide which path to take. Now, remember last time we discussed about routes, but we are doing that with the help of a switch, if you remember. And in that switch, we were writing a conditional logic that will help us determine which route the flow should go based on the condition. But for an AI agent, it does that by those chat models. Okay. So an example of those nodes we can use, I've said that over and over again. You can use the Open AI chat model. You can use the Google Gemini and a lot more. So another thing is what's wrong? I think I'm here. Another thing is the memory. Now, memory is how the AI agent remembers previous conversation in that it keeps tracks of every conversation. Even as human, imagine somebody in this class had forgotten what I said earlier and never remembered whatever I've been saying since the beginning of the class. You will see there's going to be problem in that communication. But memory, remembering conversation is how you can get a conversation going. When somebody says, how are you? And you can't remember when the person says, how are you? You can't answer fine. So as a result, there won't be conversation whatsoever. So the same applies to an AI agent. It utilizes a memory, a chat memory to keep track of conversation. Okay. And there are different type of memory that we can use in N8N. We can use the simple memory. Actually, the simple memory allows us to just test and see how the things work. We can use other complex memory like the window buffer memory, like the Postgres chat memory, and other kinds of memory that we have. The third bar or the third component of an AI agent is what we call the tools. Now, the tools are the action that the agent can take. For instance, let's say our agent, all right, let me use the example of remitter that I made mention of. Let's say you make a payment and you lost the receipt, for instance, and then you approach the remitter chatbot and then you ask, please, I want to recover uh, my payment receipt. And then the chat responds as, okay, when did you make the payment? How much did you pay? Did you remember the reference number and all and all and all? By the time you provide all those details, that chatbot has the capacity to know what path, what route to follow based on those data that you supplied it. So, for instance, if it asks, do you remember the uh, reference number? And then you said yes, it knows what route to take. When you said no, it also knows the route to take. So this is the power of tools in AI. So if you said yes, it might go further to ask you, okay, when did you make the payment? How much did you pay? And then you supply those details, and you see there will be less stress. It will just pop up the receipt or probably ask you to supply an email. So once you supply the email, it automatically sends the receipt to your email. There is a tool that allows you to access the mail and forward it. There is a tool that allows it to know what day was that date. Is it, let's say, if we say today is on the 1st now, today is Wednesday 1st. So it's a tool that will enable you to know that, okay, on the 1st was or is a Wednesday. So this is how the tools work. The tools, they are the actions that the agent can take. So you don't need to tell the agent when to use them. It knows exactly when to. So like the example I gave, when it asks, do you know the payment reference number? And then you said yes. So it knows which route to take. And if there are tools, maybe eventually you found the receipt and he wants to send it to you. So the tools available for it to use is maybe let's say a Gmail. So the agent is so smart to the point that he knows the tools to use, and then to call on uh, the the Gmail node and then do its configuration and send to your email. So every tools that you want your agent to use, you add them under the tools categories. So example of the tools we can use is, of course, I mentioned Gmail. We also have Google Calendar. If you want your agent to have access to calendar, you can use that also. If you also want it to use another workflow, you can also access it from the tools. Time is not my friend. So, all right. So we are already familiar with this, how the a workflow begins. We say our workflow usually will begin by a trigger, but in the context of an AI agent, it also begins with a trigger. An agent commences its activities with a trigger. Something will trigger it to start working. All right. Um, After the trigger commences, the next thing is for the AI to start to think, to start to check the memory for any context. Were there previous conversation? Okay, yes. If there had been some conversation, what are the patterns in the conversation and what are the commonalities? What's the subject matter? And then it will compare it to the current conversation so as to know how to reply you. So in other words, this chat model have the ability to keep discussion within context. And then going to the next part of it, it makes decision based on the context, based on the context. So if it requires that it should use a tool, then it will call whatever tools. Maybe there is a need to access a database, or maybe there is a need to send an email. So it will do that, and the agent now becomes smarter, which is the response that you get from it. All right, let me just quickly see if we can make something happen here. I don't know. Let me share my other screen. I don't want to share it. All right, let me share this. I will be building from this concept of AI agents within the next 2 or 3 class, as the case may be, because I think we are having 2 classes more or 3 classes more. I don't know. Let's quickly log in into our workspace. Let's see what we can do. Uh, no, I think that was the name. Something. I think it's the. I think that should be the name. Not that sure. All right. I think that's it. Right. So the same process applies. Just create a workflow. Now, the idea of what we are trying to do is let's try to see how we can create a simple chat model that users can interact with and get a particular response on our behalf. All right. There's a lot we can do with this, but I'll just try to keep it simple. We will build from there in our subsequent class. All right, first thing first, we need to add a trigger. And the trigger we want to add. Now, since it's a chat model, our trigger should be on chat message. Trigger will be on chat message. Now, the chat node is pretty simple. Now, if you look to the left pane, you see we have make chat publicly available, and then we have make available in chat hub. Now, this one allows you to make it available to the public, just as the name implies. You make it publicly available. So if I turn this on, now you see it generates a URL that I can use on the cloud to access this workflow, this chat model. Okay. So if you go down, you will see the mode. We just leave it as hosted. Embedded is when you are using it on another page or you are calling it somewhere, but we just want to use it within anything here. Now, authentication, we are not setting any authentication. We are not setting any authentication. We don't want any form of it. Now, the initial message now, this is where you will impute the first thing you want your user to see. The first thing you want your user to see. Now, like an example that is giving us here, hi there, my name is Nathan. How can I assist you today? This is a typical warm welcome or a warm greeting that a typical chatbot will give you. All right, maybe let's say, let's say, hey there, I am if oh, AI assistant, AI assistant. Now, in using this chat model, I think maybe I might have to stop here because I need to explain something. When using chat model, when prompting a chat model like ChatGPT, like Gemini, like Cloud, an important thing you must do for you to get the correct response is you must give that model a role to play. So you don't treat those chat model like ordinary Google. Now, for instance, if you tell, I know we are familiar with ChatGPT now. If you tell ChatGPT what is so and so, now what ChatGPT does to that prompt is it gives an ambiguous definition of whatever you ask of it. But in another case, when you provide or you instruct it to behave in a particular mode, you give it a concept, so you get a more structured response for it. For instance, I'm saying, hi there, I am so and so AI assistant. So you can say, how how may I help you today? How may I help you today? Okay, this is a typical message the user would see whenever they visit our our agent. All right. So the next thing, I will add a field, test the chat first. Now it's a test. You see below here, it has created uh, a text box to accept my prompt. Okay, so this is how I set up the on chat message. Now, when a chat is received, what do I want to do with it? I want to pass that chat to my model. I want to pass it to my model. Let's use an open AI. Let's use an open AI chat model. Take this, and all we want to do is to message a model. To message a model. Now, if you are doing this for the very first time, anytime will be giving us 100 free open AI API key. They will be giving us 100 credit to access that API. And I told you API is how you consume the services of a particular uh, product or site. So they are providing us with 100 free keys to make use of. So all you just need is to claim that keys. And you see it automatically connects with the free credit right here. So from the resource aspect, we leave it as text. We want to generate a series of text. And under the operation, just the way we select it, we only want to message the model. Want to message a model. Oh, my time is fast spent. All right. So these are the list of model. We have the GPT 4.1, meaning we have the Nano, we have the 4.0, we have the GPT-5. Now, for the sake of this class, GPT 4.1 is very much okay for what we want to do. We are already testing. So we'll just pick that. Now, under the message here, so we just leave it as text. And the role we want our agent to take. I was talking about role that when you are prompting your model, you must give it a role so as to know how to behave with questions. All right. And it will not be giving answer on a general note, but it will be specific to that role. So we want to give our agent a system role, our model system role, in that we will tell it who is it, what should it behave like. Now, so I will just say, uh, let me just say, you are an uh, private professional, an instructor. Let's put it that way. Instructor, instructor. Or let's change this. Let's make it more fun. A professional cook and knows how to prepare all kinds of African African dishes, African local dishes. Okay. So what I'm telling you, I'm giving it a role that you this chart, this is who you are. I'm giving it a role. So it will not go outside what it is. All right. So the next part is let's add a message. Yeah, add the message. Now, the message is what is coming into the model, and it will be coming in form of text also. So, and somebody will be supplying that, which is the user. So I will allow the user to send the message. But for the prompt is whatever the user is giving it. So let's execute this and let's see. Uh, let's say, who are you, for instance? And it's trying to think, and boom, its response here. Look at it. Hello, can I assist you with African cooking this today? And then, everything begins. See, this was the response we got. Are you looking for recipe, cooking tips, or information about specific dish? So now he's now thinking in line with the rule. You see, I ask, who are you? And he's asking me from each rule. As a cook, we ask, all right? It's not giving me a definition of computer. It's not giving me another information from another context. So this is the essence of getting the role. So we'll stop here and we'll continue in the next class. Please, if you have questions, do well to engage the chat and we'll see next week.